where we sit is holy, right here and right now. And I just want you to know that we honor all pathways to the Super Bowl. All those spiritual paths we honor here at High Desert. And I know that the High Desert Ensemble is even better than the halftime show. Reminds me of a story. A friend of mine was pregnant, and you know how that is. Maybe some of you know how that is. Food becomes all important because you're having dinner for two. And so they were driving in the car, and Grandpa was also visiting. Grandpa was there, and Dad was in the car as well. And the son looked up to his family. He says, "Well, Daddy, how did the baby get inside of Mommy's tummy?" And there was some silence, and Daddy cleared his throat, and Grandpa kind of rolled his eyes. And the son says, "Well, it's okay, Daddy. You don't have to make up answers if you don't know the answer. You don't have to make it up." And the good thing here about being at the Center for the Science of Mind and Spirit is that we have some answers. We have answers on the way that works and the way that the Spirit works in our life. It also really demystifies the art of living. So we can all walk out of here today being demystified and being a little bit more mystical. We're immersing ourselves in the basics in January, as far as going back to basics, is the thing itself and the divine essence that's awakening itself within us, and uplifting our thoughts, and knowing that it's a philosophy, but it's so much more. It's a way of living. It's a way of living that transforms every area to which we apply it. It's practical spirituality. It's metaphysical. It's beyond the physical. And we can really get stuff moving in our life, and we can deepen. We can grow. We have classes here. We have events. We have music that really helps us soar. Last week we talked about being in oneness and being the divine essence. We talked about life itself being the divine, knowing that we're beloved and that we're purposeful and limitless, and that we have that divine intelligence that moves in our life into form. We awaken our spiritual essence, and as long as we're willing to uplift our thoughts, to uplevel our lives, and to be artful and skillful about our lives, we can embrace the dreams that's within our hearts. We have the universal life force which produces itself as more of itself. It is in concert, too, with quantum physics. It's the opinions of philosophy. It's the modern positive psychology. It's that whatever that human experience is that we may be over-identifying ourselves with, and we can turn and identify ourselves with that which is the real truth, which is that which is real. So we are eternal spiritual beings. And the good news about this is that means that we have the capacities that are within us waiting to happen. It's already here, and that there's nothing missing. There's nothing lacking. We can call upon a higher path for us. We are doing this as we embrace this teaching. So in this month of basics, it's sometimes good to know what we're not. This is a spiritual teaching, and it's not Christian Science, it's not Scientology, it's not something that might be called a cult, because we're hardly organized enough. Really, we're not organized enough to be anything like that. Plus, we teach that there's a power within, there's a presence and a power that's within us, whereas something like that would say that there's something outside of us that would have control. So we know that there is that spiritual movement or that new thought. We can have a new thought about our lives and be a bit more artful and skillful about that. And we have no interest in controlling people's lives. We have no interest whatsoever in seeking to convert or proselytize, because what we know is that when people are ready, we as students become an even greater student. We know that we are having the full intention to awaken our lives and to be fully present in our lives. And we know that there's that place where that is magnificent and powerful that is within us, and we can call upon that. Much like a mountain, we have many paths up a mountain. Anyone ever been hiking up Sandia or gone to the top of the tram? We know that someone said I had to walk down. Not true. I can take the tram down, or I guess it'd be better to walk down than up. But we feel much like a mountain. There's many paths, and that many individuals are attracted to this teaching because it's right. It's right for them. It's like the shoe fits. And many of us have also found other paths within this way of living, and we can bless that within this context. So it's a larger picture that enriches our lives. And we claim that there's not only just one way, but that there's many paths. In fact, the various religions add this value and enrichment to our lives, and there are many spiritual paths up this mountain, much like villages. And we can stop and hang out in some of those villages and enjoy some conversation around that. We can have a relationship with it. And even though those paths may seem different, or they may seem a little bit separate, when we reach the top of the mountain, there's the peak. There's the oneness. There's that wholeness. There's that which is wholesome, that which is well in our life, and that which, when all those paths converge, there's that sense that we've already been there before. We already know it. And it's from that knowing where we can have those peak experiences. Way back in a long time ago, I'm dating myself. How many of you date yourself? I went to some trainings called the Peak Training, and it was at this place called the Masterpiece Institute, and became one of their training folk, and as far as mastering peace in our life. And there was a beautiful formula that says to get to that mountain, to that peak, to the very top of our experience in our daily life, that we can perceive. Number one, as far as peak, we can perceive. And then we can experience that. No matter what is going on in our life, we can experience it. And if it's something that we want to eliminate or dissolve, it's okay to embrace that, to know that we're not going to be resisting it, but perhaps a little bit more accepting and inclusive of it. So for that peak, we can experience that, and then we can acknowledge the value, and then know ourselves even more fully, and move from whatever that disempowering place might be into that empowering place, and be of the power of the Spirit. And then know that, and then experience something anew. So that's our invitation in the spiritual teaching, and to know that we can perceive and experience and acknowledge and know and expand from our place of our heart connection, from the place of oneness. Dr. Ernest Holmes, who's the founder of the Science of Mind and Spirit, which is a guide for spiritual living, he talked about this golden cord. When people are at the peak of the mountain, there's this golden cord of that which is synthesized and synchronized and energized in our heart. And so he shared, there's this shared spirituality of the world spirituality where all religions converge. And it applies to our life now. He called it the golden cord of the truth. And it symbolizes, imagine just this golden cord, it symbolizes the path that flows through all of the spiritual traditions. The best of the best, the cream of the crop. And we experience the best when we find that deepest truth in our hearts, and we live that teaching, and we bring in modern philosophy, and we bring in modern science, and we know that there's a way that it works. And we don't necessarily worship our founder, we honor our all-faith paths. And, Dr. Ernest Holmes really wanted us to use this stuff. Don't just leave it on a bookshelf. All those thousands of books that we received in our library, we're rolling up our sleeves and we're embodying it and embracing it. And there's this place where we're all doing this work together in this beautiful community because it's rich soil. It's good that we're doing this work together and that we can grow and deepen in this teaching. So again, we do not believe that the power of God is a distant or an angry or a judging kind of thing that's outside of ourselves. It's not judging us, or that we have to die to experience it. But that we're already eternal beings. We believe that the kingdom of God is within us. We include all people, regardless of whatever people's preferences are. We're a welcoming faith. We believe that even in our challenges, we're coming together in the oneness in which we're already created. So the way it works, the first 4 chapters in the Science of Mind textbook, he talks about the way it works. And there's 3 key ideas. And some of it's a little bit of a reprise from last week. That number 1, that all creation moves from the invisible to the visible. In our lives here and now, there's an invisible intelligence. And that creation moves from thought to thing. It moves from idea to form. And there's a realm of reality the forms are not the source of reality, but there is a source of reality that moves into form. It is that realm. It is the realm of the source from which all springs. There is the form that springs from that one source. And it is the divine which is actualized as the idea and is seeking to create in our lives. It's already seeking to be known and to know itself even more fully. And in the Bible it says, let there be. It's in the beginning was the Word. This is the arena of the divine consciousness. In the beginning was the Word. It's the consciousness. And in that arena, God said, let there be. And it was. And it was good. And it was very good. Not just good, it was very good. Well, how else could the divine produce anything other than that impeccable nature of the divine? So we are understanding that thoughts become things, and that we are centers. We are all centers in this divine mind, and that it's in every one of us. And it's a 3-part template. It's spirit, mind, and body. It's idea, power, and form. Ernest Holm talked about in What We Believe in our Declaration of Principles. We don't have much doctrine. We have much spiritual experience. It's like, hey, let's apply this. Let's kick up our heels and have a good time and have more joy and peace and love in our life and prosperizing good and harmony. What he says in the Declaration of Principles, in one of the stanzas, he says, we believe that the universal spirit, which is God, operates through universal mind, which is the law of God, and that we are surrounded by the creative mind, which receives the direct impress of our thought and acts upon it. Don't you love that? The direct impress. And it's like, are we ready to receive that? If we're getting the hang of this, it's all consciousness. It's all that consciousness in one state or another, that there's that invisible which is becoming visible, or those things that are visible in our life that we want to make invisible. There's also the way it works that we can use that. And it's all consciousness. Whether it's inspiring ideas, like seeds, when the farmer sows the seeds of greatness. And it's inspiring, and it's also accomplishing in this law of mind. It's accomplishing something. Like soil. The soil is there to receive that direct impress. And it's manifesting and showing itself in this way. So that's the first key, is that the invisible shows up as the visible. And the second key is that there's a law of mind. Because Science of Mind and Spirit is a study of principles, and it's a metaphysical practice, and it draws upon these laws at a spiritual level, that there's practices that we can have, and that there's a law of mind like gravity, like electromagnetic fields, like all kinds of laws that we can count on the light bulb to go on. Or when I drop something, I can count on gravity that it goes to the floor. Or I'm creative too. When I cook pizza, I know that it's done when the fire alarm goes off, because I put the pizza in the oven and I just know it's going to come out that way. I'm such a cook. I can pour a really good salad, but that's... Dr. Ernest Holmes said that there's a power for good in the universe greater than we are, and we can use it. We're using it already, so we can begin to even more and more actualize those ideas with the power. We can immerse ourselves in this medium, in this creative, accomplishing medium of our life, and manifest our lives anew. And so the invisible becomes visible. It says, you shall decree a thing, and it shall be established unto you, and that light shall shine upon you in all of our ways. We have a way, an artful way of living. And the great master teacher said, when you pray, believe that you have already received. There's a powerhouse of the universe, and our beliefs are our prayers. And if I have a higher belief, and I give that to the prayer, it's much like when the Buddha says that all that we are arises with our thought. With our thoughts, we make our world, and thoughts are things, and we can change our life. We can change our thinking and change our life. Raymond Charles Barker said that there's an impelling force for good, and it is in us and through all and equally distributed in every person. And he talked about the main characteristics being intelligent and loving and inspiring. Can you imagine walking out throughout the whole day being intelligent and loving and inspiring, and how that is how I show up? But it also is, in this universal presence and power, there's a mechanical law, much like gravity. Anyone think about the gravity of a situation? Well, here we get to lighten up and then practice and actualize these beautiful laws that the acorn knows it's going to be an oak tree when it's planted. There's that innate nature already there. So it's fulfilling, it's creativity. There's an uplifting of our lives which begins with the upleveling of our thoughts. As our lives express a higher livingness, we are uplifted in our lives. We have to know that it's possible. We have to think in new ways. We work at the quality of our awareness. That's how the way it works. We work on our qualities of awareness, which is wholesome, which is life-affirming, which is life-giving, which is life-enhancing. And it's not instead of negating our good, instead of negating or what's possible, we get to know what is possible. And we take that thought seed and sow seeds of greatness. We couple it with the energy of our feelings. Our feelings are believing energies. It's our beliefs. Feeling is believing. Thoughts plus feelings are our beliefs. So feeling is believing, and that plays itself out until we plant new seeds. So if I have this tendency and I'm feeling this way, it plays itself out because I'm in the game, much like the Super Bowl. And so I may have to take a little time, and change my thoughts, change my feelings, and to know that there's a shift. And we'll be celebrating Martin Luther King tomorrow as well, and he was an example of a cultural shift. What he said, in his own words, he said that he was materially passive but spiritually active. What he decided to do, he made a choice to be nonviolent. He decided to turn and be spiritually active. And that's what was activated as his example. So we can all activate something in our life. It's an opportunity for Spirit to live through us in the way that's intended, in the way of wholeness, in the way of wholesomeness. And it's an opportunity to take charge in the way Spirit intended. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. We get to renew our minds daily, like brushing our teeth, hopefully daily. And if we're not trying to, get things and maneuver things and manipulate things or make things happen born out of fear, we can begin to birth things out of love. We renew our minds and we birth our lives out of love. We birth our lives out of the love of the divine. Imagine that being our focus, our lens through which we look. We know that the universe responds by corresponding. Responding to this love of the divine. Knowing that the direct impress of our thought is acted upon, and we can count on it like gravity. We bring a greater awareness as we uplift ourselves within and as we up-level our lives. We uplift and we up-level our lives. And there's 3 steps we can take with us today. What are the 3 steps that we can use for these 3 key concepts? Number 1, we can design our course. We're in a year of new design for living. We can sometimes it's a new course. Sometimes we like the course we're on. It's a banquet already. We're having a great time. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing missing. But if we're feeling like we have old obligations and we have fearful notions, or that there's something more for me. Oh, there's something more. We can open up and design that within ourselves. We can have what might be a cellular memory. We remember who we are in a soulful way. So we may not know all the ways it'll show up, but we can own the impulse of this creativity. We can know we are guided. We can know that we're actualizing and realizing in the quiet moments and as they show up throughout the day. And so what am I about? I'm about to something good and something that's very good. I can repurpose my thinking to support my dreams, to emerge in this magnificence. I can claim and know that those thoughts are uplifting me, rather than having thoughts that pull me down. I can have thoughts that are uplifting in those quiet moments, because feeling is believing. And I can feel that there is what matters most in my life and follow that, to be led by that vision. So what thoughts are linking me to a limited past? Or what thoughts are freeing me up? Imagine just moving toward freedom and even more freedom, knowing that our thoughts set us free and we're able to spread our wings. We can also, number 3, is supercharge our acceptance. Supercharge, like the Super Bowl. We can supercharge our acceptance and claim and believe that thought, feeling, and actions in total acceptance, knowing that there's that whole spectrum, and we can own our thoughts. We can accept our higher purpose and repurpose. We can accept our higher purpose as we design our course, of course. Design our course, of course. We can take a great vision in our life and we can have the success in that idea. So we can stay the course and stay that sense of accomplishment, knowing that there is this universal presence which is manifesting itself in our life. Dr. Joe Dispenza, who's a brain scientist and New York Times bestseller, he's a teacher and has spiritual practices that he's found really beneficial with people, especially those people who've had remissions from illness. He found that there were things in common. Number 1, the people who were on the mend in their in their pathway of health up that mountain, no matter what pathway they were experiencing. Number 1, they believe that there's a divine element. Number 2, they reinvent themselves. Oh, repurpose our design. Repurpose our thinking, design our course. They reinvented themselves and they ask, well, what is the great idea for my life? And then that great idea, they practiced. They practiced the great idea. They chose to develop this believing, this feeling and believing, and to co-create a new inner reality first. A whole new design of a course, creating a whole new inner reality. And what happened was it created a template for a new experience. So we have these templates ever available which we can use. Oh, there's a power in the universe that's greater than we are, and we can use it. And we can put first things first. Much like if we have the horse in the cart, or the cart hopefully not before the horse, but we know that there's that movement of freedom. And I want to give you an illustration. There's a lady called Maritza Para, and she was very disheartened. She found herself on her bathroom floor, curled up, kind of just started to cry. She realized that her marriage was not a success. She realized that she just needed a sense of empowerment because she was feeling powerless. And what she began to do was to figure out that what she needed to learn most, she could teach, because she could master what she began to teach. She taught herself in her own life to be inspired, to accomplish new things, and to see how that manifested as a divine experiment in her life. She began to befriend herself. After a 6-year marriage, and they had tried to have a child, and it was not successful for that family. She began to befriend herself and to look at her own inner realm and discover those new dimensions that were in her sadness, that were in that experience. And so she began to rent a hall, much like one of our rooms here. And she shared her wisdom about moving through those painful experiences. And there were 4 people who showed up the first time. And then there began to be 400 people that showed up, and then thousands of people that showed up. And she ended up doing a podcast, and she felt that she had done everything right, that she was supposed to get married and have kids. Her culture was from Hispanic culture, and she was doing the best that she could with what she thought she was supposed to do to create a family. What she got to do was create a whole family of community around the world and do podcasts. And she got a call one day from Oprah and Friends. You know Oprah? She almost dropped the phone, and they said, well, she was in San Antonio. She says, we want to hear what you're up to, because we hear what you're up to. We want to hear more. And she made a difference. She made a positive difference because she knew the way that it worked in her life. That even though that cocoon, when she was on her bathroom floor, even though that cocoon looked like limitation, it was preparation. Yeah? And out of that cocoon, she got to soar and make a difference, not only in befriending herself, but she made a difference in the life as she began to birth things more out of love, out of the love of the divine, and sharing that in the most natural way. So she got to have her aspirations fulfilled. She got to know that cocoon part was to then soar and to be free and to move in that direction of freedom and to share that with others. So there's always areas where we may appear to have a limitation. That's really preparation. And much like the soil that's ready to receive the direct impress of our thought, we know that it's already empowered and it knows what to do. It is its nature. So what I'd like us to do is experience that nature right now and to know that there is this life that is living itself through us. And to just join for a moment of inner celebration. And to trust and know that, like the balloons that were flying over the parking lot this morning, that we can hear the warmth that is rising up in these beautiful rainbow of colors in our life. That our life is absolutely uplifted and up-leveled in the Spirit, knowing that it is the divine essence, that it is the true essence awakening itself out of the heart connection in this unified field of unconditional love. And what I trust and know is that there is a peaceful way and that there is a beautiful pathway flying over the pathways of the mountains, knowing that there is this peak, which is an absolute pinnacle, and knowing that we bring that and embrace that which is life-enhancing, life embracing itself in, through, as, and all around us, and blessing every area of our life, our health, our relationships, our wealth, and our inner peace, knowing that there is this peaceful way and joy-filled way and making its way as our beautiful life. So I know that there are beautiful and bountiful blessings in the artistry of this new design. knowing that it is designing its course. There's a divine pattern which is unfolding with grace and with ease. So I'm grateful for this beautiful community, and knowing that it is uplifted and upleveled right here and right now, and releasing it and saying, let it be, and so be it, and so it is. Please join in a few moments of stillness.